All right, tomorrow's DK Bonanza Direct, it's cool and all, but don't get distracted. This is Nintendo setting the table, giving us the appetizer, and their playbook says the big one is still coming. The huge showcase we've been waiting for and what we ordered is not happening tomorrow at 9 a.m. when they deliver 15 more minutes of DK Bonanza info, gameplay, and more. But don't be worried. Nintendo still has a humongous Direct hiding, and today I'm going to tell you all about that one. I'm excited for DK. I love DK. But the Mario Kart World 15-minute Direct left a bad taste in my mouth. I don't know if you agree. So what's going on, everybody? Ed Zach from Switchforce. Let me know how you felt about that Mario Kart World Direct. Do you think the DK Bonanza Direct has a chance of being better? Or are you just looking forward to the other one, the big one? I looked back at Nintendo's history, and typically, yes, they do their big general Direct and then branch that out into other smaller game Directs. But there is evidence and past precedent for them doing the opposite, all right? In 2022, they had their Xenoblade 3 Direct, then a Nintendo Direct Mini. And we've seen Nintendo mix with patterns and get a little bit wild and not feel like they need to be bound to the traditional calendar of reveals and releases. Now, Nintendo also had a general Direct about 5 to 6 weeks after the launch of Switch 1, and 5 to 6 weeks after the launch of Switch 2, places it right around DK Bonanza, a little bit before or a little bit after. And the other thing I want you to know is that the Pokemon Presents for this year is already announced. It's announced for July 22nd, and Nintendo has historically always had their big summer showcase, their big general June Direct where they reveal all the games for the holidays before that Pokemon Presents, okay? So to me, it's like tomorrow is the start. It's the beginning of Nintendo saying, all right, we're revving back up the Switch 2 hype machine. You bought the console like crazy. You're playing Mario Kart World all the time. You found most of the P-Switches. You realize we don't have enough costumes for DK or Pauline. Hopefully they talk about that tomorrow. Maybe we can get a little Mario Kart news out of our Bonanza Direct, which would make that banana even sweeter to taste. But I think you've got between tomorrow, June 18th, and July 22nd for the big Nintendo Switch 2 Direct, the general one, the Metroid Prime 4 date, the Kirby Air Riders date, the Hyrule Warriors date, the what is there in November. And you might say, Zach, don't get your hopes up. They've gotten weird, and they have, okay? They're using the Nintendo Today app to reveal pretty important stuff. Splatoon Raiders on the Nintendo Today app. DK Bonanza Direct? Yes, on the Nintendo Today app. But let's think about how Nintendo is moving as of late, all right? What was the big tentpole thing they needed to do? Launch the console. Everything after that kind of falls secondary. They're mostly concerned about stocking the shelves, restocking the shelves, and making sure that you get that system and you get it. And they've done a great job with that, as I've seen frequent restocks at many of the major retailers here in the US. And hopefully it's the same across the globe, because they are pushing an absurd amount of Switch 2s into people's hands, which is great. Then they've got another game that's coming out in less than a month, and it's a game that, you know, is pretty big, I would say, given that DK is one of their tentpole characters, and they're trying to really leverage him as like, hey, he's really big. Like, he's not Mario big, but he's really big. He's actually physically bigger than Mario, but we're going to make sure his expressions show you that he's almost as fun. I don't think, though, DK Bonanza is something Nintendo views as, like, their mega hit, right? It's not viewed as the same tier as Mario Kart, 3D Mario, or Legend of Zelda, or even a new gen of Pokemon, which we know they don't have. Yes, they have Pokemon Legends ZA, but remember, that is not a new generation of Pokemon. Nintendo can utilize the Today app for some of these smaller things and to try to promote that app and get you to download it and get you excited about it, like they did even before the Switch 2 launch by having like high renders of the Pro Controller. But they really still are going to focus on their main mode of transportation for their major big announcements. And to me, a DK Bonanza Direct, after already showcasing that game, having lots of gameplay at the Treehouse, and having it playable to press and fans alike at their Switch 2 events, it doesn't need the huge treatment. Now, what this might mean is it shifts back the date of the Nintendo General Direct, because they're not going to have a DK Bonanza Direct and then the next day have a General Direct, but it absolutely does not mean that this replaces the big Direct. Nintendo is not going to do everything via the Today app from here on out. In fact, they've got big announcements that they need to make, and if you actually look at it this way, maybe their announcements are really huge. If they thought Splatoon Raiders and DK Bonanza Direct could go on the Nintendo Today app, what are they holding back that they want to be a part of their Direct? That's how I'm thinking, and that has me super excited. That, like, okay, Nintendo felt they have enough announcements to get these out of the way. Some people are saying, oh, if they had a Direct, they would have just put this in the Direct. But we saw them utilize individual game Directs for many of their Switch 1 launch window titles And it seems like they're doing the same thing for Switch 2. There was a Mario Kart World short direct. There's going to be a DK Bonanza short direct. I'm sure there'll be a Metroid Prime 4 short direct when that comes out. They got to give us that date. And they got to set this calendar quick, because once this DK Bonanza Direct airs tomorrow, everything is a known quantity that we can buy. We can buy Pokemon Legends ZA, there's a date on that. We can buy DK Bonanza, and they've shown it off. Nintendo then has used up its cards, and it needs to reshuffle. It needs to get some more aces to show us, to have us excited, to have us pre-order, and to feel good about this system, and have investors feel good that, hey, this amazing initial push of all these consoles, 4.5 million units, we're going to keep it going. How are they going to keep it going when they don't have much announced besides some Switch 2 editions? They are not. The only way they can is by announcing more dates and confirming new games and getting people really excited. That means that after June 18th and before July 22nd, when that Pokemon Presents dives deeper into Legends ZA and maybe even teases what comes next, Nintendo will have their big summer showcase. And here's where they will date the rest of their games and introduce others that are possibly even bigger than DK Bonanza or Splatoon Raiders, which did get the Nintendo Today treatment. Now, I'm not saying they're done using the Nintendo Today app for the rest of the year. They will use it again. And we have some rumors from a guy, Nash Weedle, who correctly predicted they'd use the Nintendo Today app to announce a surprise title for Switch 2, which looks like it's Splatoon Raiders. And he's teasing some remakes or remasters being announced there as well. But you have to remember, Nintendo is just flush with announcements. Their last few years of Switch were intentionally slow. And if you're to believe what people say, they delayed this console to really make sure the software lineup was strong as it could be. That means regular releases and heavy hitters after another after another. And I think that's what Nintendo is prepping for. Their direct between the last week of June and the first week of July is something that I think really will impress its fans and really set the stage. Will it still be in June? I'd like to think so. I think they can leverage the last week of June to still fall into that summer time frame that they've used so many times before. It's their favorite time of year, and I do think they'll use it. But they could also use an early July slate, more likely the second week of July, because you got 4th of July, you got DK Bonanza on the 17th. You kind of want to come in between. It's a very tight window, which is why I think it'll be late June. They don't really want to go past DK Bonanza, because then the Pokemon Presents is all of a sudden a few days after that. That gives them no time for a direct. And you definitely don't want to have a direct on the date DK Bonanza drops. Now, could they have a direct the week of DK Bonanza? Yes, they could. You think it's unlikely? You think that their marketing notes are already made? You think that they're going to kind of go quiet now because they've got DK and they're going to wait till DK Bonanza comes out? But I totally don't believe that. Looking back at how they did and handled their Switch 1 marketing, they were heavy about Splatoon 2, they were heavy about ARMS, and they kept the train rolling. Okay, just because Breath of the Wild just came out didn't mean that they weren't looking forward. Just because Mario Kart 8 Deluxe came out didn't mean that they weren't looking forward. They were always keeping the next carrot on the stick to show you why this system was worth it. And I think you have the secret elephant in the room, which is third parties have been ghosting Nintendo Switch 2. That stuff has to come to a head soon, and I firmly believe that Nintendo has more than they showed off at their initial reveal, and they've got dates galore to drop. Elden Ring, Assassin's Creed Shadows, Borderlands 4. Why are these not being mentioned? Borderlands 4 gets its deluxe editions on other platforms, no mention of Switch 2. You could say it's because Nintendo doesn't have the right deal set up, the game's coming a year later. It's not that. It's because Nintendo wants to make this a moment of their own. They love to be the narrative. They like to have their narrator dissecting and discussing and giving you the details on every game, even if they didn't publish it. So we're going to hear about Borderlands 4's release date and Elden Ring's release date at this next Direct. And it's going to happen between tomorrow, DK Bonanza, and launch DK Bonanza. Mark my words. I firmly believe there will be a general Direct within that 4-week period. You got a month maybe to wait, but I really think it's going to be the last week of June. Give this DK Bonanza Direct a week to sit and simmer, get people ready for that title, but then 2 weeks before it comes out, before the US has 4th of July, get some more details out there, get some more info out there. They can tout like, hey, we've had 3 weeks of sales now, bada boom, look how good the Switch 2 is doing. They can really appeal to new buyers as well as buyers on the fence, like, hey, we're doing our very best to keep stock coming. We've got these exciting games. Let's date Metroid Prime 4 for you. Let's date Kirby Air Riders. If you're not a Mario Kart fan, we've got more in store. So don't think that tomorrow is the main course. It's merely an appetizer. We can enjoy it, and I sure hope it's better than the Mario Kart World Direct. It's a very low bar for them to hurdle over, and they better. We're not playing limbo here. Let's do hurdles, Nintendo. This is a track and field competition, and we need to keep running forward because the Switch 2 is freaking awesome. We just need more to play, and we want to know what you've been cooking. Their chefs have been busy as all heck. They have made sure to make this lineup one for the ages, and I absolutely know that there's more that we've yet to see, but we will soon. So let me know your take in the comments down below. When do you think this Direct is going to hit? Are you still excited for the DK Bonanza Direct, or do you think I'm crazy and there's actually no Direct? I just find that to be infinitesimally unlikely. There's just no way that they're not going to tell us more about their lineup for the rest of the year when they've got all these games with nebulous dates and places to put them, and more to announce for us to be excited about our $500 console. It makes too much sense. Nintendo loves the summer. Between DK and between the release of DK, that's when we're going to have it. So wait for that. I'll keep you posted if I hear anything else soon. In the meantime, everybody, stay safe, stay healthy, stay happy, stay positive out there. Love you lots. Switch Force out.